David Lammy's token move on Israel's arms licenses is no answer to genocide. It's a form of denial. We're going to read into this argument piece here from Byline Times. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article or an argument piece here from Byline Times with the headline that David Lammy's token move on Israel's arms licenses is no answer to genocide and it's a form of denial. You do not respond to genocide with gestures. You do not continue to treat a state that is suspected of committing genocide as an ally, and cancelling a number of export licenses does not cancel Britain's complicity. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. Now, excuse me, I covered this as soon as the story came out on Monday on the Snowflake Viewpoint. If you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to do so. It has been timestamped on there if you want to have a look at that on the latest Snowflake Viewpoint live stream there. But I wanted to do a video on this, and especially this piece here from Byline Times, because while I am kind of more inclined to agree with this argument and reported piece here, because I generally feel that despite the UK stopping up to 30, I believe, export licenses, we have up to 300 or so with Israel, I believe. Now, this position that the position that has always been with politicians is that Israel is and for always will be a staunch ally of the UK. We heard that all the time, right? But they will not look at this blatant, obvious point that is happening with it inside the Gaza Strip. The blatant amount of videos and evidence that is showing that the way that Israel is treating Palestinians with complete and utter discontempt, not just there but in the West Bank and by those within the prisons as well that they are holding detainees, whether they're Palestinians or whether they are representing Hamas. Some of the stories and things that we have heard about has been nothing short of horrific. I don't need to tell you what certain IDF soldiers have, certain Israeli officers and soldiers have been doing to Palestinians. There's already stories have been out there. Now, me personally, if the UK is to apply any kind of pressure to extort some kind of ceasefire in Gaza, to stop the bloodshed, to stop more innocent people die, to stop more Israeli soldiers die, to get the Israeli hostages who are captured by Hamas out, we need a ceasefire. We know that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has no intention of changing his position in any way, shape or form. But we also know that the UK has very little power that they can do anything either. But the UK must be big enough to stand up to say, you know what you guys are doing is wrong. We don't approve of you guys, bombing schools and hospitals in Gaza, destroying nearly 80% of pretty much of all buildings and everything, desecrating the entire Gaza Strip, because that's what they have done. They have bombed up to 6 different schools 6 times, and their claims have been like there's been a Hamas secret outpost in the schools, when they've had yet again no evidence to support their claims. They did it with the hospitals, claiming that there was a secret Hamas outpost there, and again they had no evidence to support it. They have targeted journalists in there for reporting, or just because of they miscommunication or missile hit the wrong spot or whatever. More journalists have died within the Gaza Strip than anywhere else on the planet. The actions of Israel speaks for itself. We should stop all arms licenses to Israel completely and turn around and say to Netanyahu, if you don't get a ceasefire, we don't want to negotiate. We don't want to give you guys anything. How can we support you when you are completely think it's justifiable to starve and allow so many innocent people to die under your watch? Because that's what they are doing. And there are many people who think that what Israel are doing to Gaza, what they are doing to Palestinians, is perfectly justifiable for what happened October the 7th. Well, I'm here to tell you, no, it's not justifiable. The ends does not justify the means here. Every life is precious, every life is valuable, and there is no excuse for it in any way, shape or form. This does not change anything. This does not make Britain look tough. This does not make Britain look strong. This will no doubt obviously ruffle a few feathers in Washington, but this will not change anything, in my opinion. You can disagree with me, but until we actually stand up to Israel and say, look, what you guys are doing is wrong and we're going to stop completely all armed export licenses, this changes absolutely nothing. So Daily Lammy's statement is that the UK is that the UK is suspending around 30 arms export. If I remember, I edited that out. Let me start again. So apologies for that. David Lammy's statement is that the UK is suspending around 30 arms export licenses to Israel is welcome. Following Labour's withdrawal from the previous government's objections to the request for war crimes charges against Israeli leaders by the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor, Karen Khan KC, it confirms that a shift in the UK stance under the new government as it protests the Israeli leaders confirm. Yet, as David Lammy admitted, when he noted that the UK supplies only about 1% of Israel's arms export licenses, this is largely a token move. Yeah, and then he had the funeral of obviously the 6 Israeli hostages who were found dead. In particular, the exclusion of F-35 parts from the suspensions, where the planes are used for most of the murderous bombings, it makes far less effective than it could have been. Certainly, the policy is nowhere near matching the gravity of Israel's destruction of Gaza. Lammy stated that the government could not arbitrate on whether or not Israel has breached international humanitarian law. Yet the Foreign Office paper supporting his statement refers to the assessment of Israel's capability to commitment to comply with international humanitarian law based on its record of compliance. This apparently concluded that Israel had failed in its duties as occupying power to ensure that sufficient aid had reached the population of Gaza and had been credibly reported to have mistreated detainees. However, its claims had not been possible to reach a determinative judgment on allegations regarding Israel's conduct of hostilities, which of course is the overriding issue, despite the fact that there is countless evidence online to support these claims, by the way. It is hardly conceivable that Lammy's actual legal advice, which notably he has not published, brushed off easily Israel's huge murderous bombardment, which has killed tens of thousands and many more, wounded many more, and rendered 2 million homeless, or that it made no reference to either Khan's charges or gravity of war crimes in this assault or the International Court of Justice conclusions. Over 6 months ago, the Gaza population was a plausible risk of genocide, a risk that only have increased with Israel's defiance of the court's instructions to change course. We need a whistleblower to tell us what the FO's lawyers actually think. In contrast to Khan's charge sheet or the ICJ's judgment, Lammy and his papers skate very lightly over Israel's outrages. It is clearly more than credible, as the ICJ's ruling suggests, that its attacks on Gaza civilians are not merely a series of individual war crimes or even crimes against humanity, but reflection the overall genocidal intent of Israeli leaders, amplified and demonstrated by their statements since October 2023 to cripple or destroy its people. The court will have to decide this question in response to the case that South Africa has brought against Israel, and Khan could also be considered genocidal charges against Benjamin Netanyahu and his fellow ministers, indeed also against Hamas leaders for the massacre of October 7th. Yet Lammy feels able to ignore the humble issue which amounts to genocidal denial, nor is this merely an arms trade or a legal question. The UK has a military collaboration agreement with Israel, the details of which are classified, and it has deployed its military to the Eastern Mediterranean to support Israel since last October. In political and diplomatic terms, British leaders have endlessly provided Israel with the cover of self-defence, although Israel is engaging in violent aggression against the civilian population of illegally occupied territories. Its legitimate defence needs could easily be met by pulling its forces back to its borders if they had been there on October the 7th. Hamas atrocities would never have happened. We don't know that. We honestly don't know that. If this is genocide, not only are Israel's leaders guilty of orchestrating it, but the UK and other Western leaders are guilty of enabling it. You do not respond to a genocide with gestures. You do not continue to treat a state that is suspected of committing genocide as an ally, and cancelling a number of export licenses does not cancel Britain's complicity. Lady Lammy said he was looking forward, but Labour need to lead a more rational change of policy. The UK needs to use all its levers to help Israelis' military action in Gaza, ensure its complete withdrawal from the territory, and allow international agencies full access to support survivors, as well as halting Israel's aggression in the West Bank. The UK's complicity over the last 7 months increases its government's duty to abandon its support for Israel and seek justice for Palestinians. Well, we know that's not going to happen. You know that's not going to happen. This article was written by Martin Shaw, for those who want to know. But I do think it was an important argument piece, whether you agree to disagree with it. I'm very much on the position that what happened on October the 7th was an absolute horrific and terrible tragedy and should never have happened in the first place. However, that does not, for me, the retaliation by Israel has been far too strong, far too dangerous, far too rhetoric. The tone, the language that has been used by politicians, by military leaders about Palestine and its people, have been nothing short of disgusting, shameful, and downright outrageous as far as I'm concerned. There is no justification for me. There's no justification for the way that they are treating Palestinians. At the same time, Hamas, what they did, need to pay for their crimes too. But at the same time, you just cannot kill Hamas. And people's solutions is to wipe out the Palestinians from there. No, that's not something that people want. That is not the solution to land that was originally theirs, that was agreed upon, and they want to take that land away from them, just like they want to take the rest of the West Bank away from Palestinians. This is ethnic cleansing. Is what comes across to me is what's been looked at here. And I don't like it, and it needs to stop. Palestine needs to have its own state, and it should be allowed to have its own state. And the UK's decision here, while it is a step, like I said, it's a step in the right direction, it's nowhere near enough. And David Lammy, regardless of whatever he does, he's going to come under criticism either way. He's certainly not going to have an easy ride come the Labour conference, that is for sure. But what do you guys honestly think? Do you think there is do you think there's justifiability from the Labour government to do this? Do you think they should be doing more? Should they be doing less? What are you guys' thoughts on the situation in the Middle East? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comment section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.